right, let's go ahead and call this meeting of the Pompano Beach CRA to order, April 15th, 2025 at 1 o'clock. If I could ask everyone to please silence your cell phones or put them on vibrate during the meeting. That way we don't get disrupted by a telephone call. So please put them on silent or vibrate. Thank you. Let's go ahead and do the roll call.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Seekerson-Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Fournier.
Here.
Chair Harden.
Here, I can ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I get a motion approving the CRA board meeting minutes of January 21st, 2025?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Harrison, any changes to our agenda today?
No, sir.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. There is no consent agenda this evening, so there is no consent agenda discussion. That takes us up to item A, which is presentation. Presentation on the McNab House and Botanical Gardens project. I guess I will turn this over to Ms. Mulder.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Sarah Mulder, CRA Project Manager. Please bear with me. I'm 8 months pregnant and out of breath easily as I go through this. Thank you. So to start, some of you attended the January 23rd public meeting on the master plan presentation that we had, which had over 100 residents in attendance. Since that time, there appears to be some confusion regarding this project, as evidenced by repeated public records requests that we have received. So we would like to take this opportunity to address some of those concerns as well as share progress that we've made on this exciting project. So let's just start with the basics. What is a CRA? A CRA is a special government organization set up to improve specific areas that are struggling. Our job as the CRA is to bring forward the best economic development and redevelopment projects to the city. So our goal goes beyond just upgrading old infrastructure and park amenities. It's about revitalization with a vision.
Excuse me.
Yes.
My screen's not working, and I'd love to be seeing what you're seeing.
Let's take a little break here then.
Everybody else working?
Okay, mine's
Sorry, Sarah.
on.
Okay.
Mine's not.
Okay, we got a couple that aren't working here. Curving to the rest.
Yes, what we do, it's about revitalization with a vision. So by focusing on transformative projects such as this one, we're creating opportunities that attract businesses, enhance property values, and improve the quality of life for residents. So a little bit about the East CRA district. It was formed in 2001 with an original expiration date of 2031. It does total 158 acres, as you can see on the map. And then in May of 2024, the CRA Board and City Commission approved an amended CRA plan extending the East CRA's lifespan to 2061. So the East CRA has made significant strides, particularly in the streetscape planning, updating land development regulations, and then completing the fishing village. However, continued focus is needed on the western portion of the district, which has the potential to serve as the vital link between the beach redevelopment and the downtown project. Investments made by the East CRA have far-reaching impact that extends well beyond the boundaries of the redevelopment area. The economic activity generated within the district produces a ripple effect throughout the city. This citywide economic spillover leads to increased sales and property values, which in turn can be reinvested into public services such as parks, road improvements, and public safety initiatives. So in this way, the CRA investments serve not only to revitalize the district, but also to enhance the overall fiscal health and quality of life across the entire city. And then, case in point, a common benchmark across the country is that a city that invests in itself gets back about 5 to 8 times return in private sector investment. So as you know, we have a track record of success in the East CRA district in exactly this. We spent $45 million public investment on the beach. That $45 million public investment has sparked over $1 billion in private development. And why does this matter? It matters because the city is doing more with less. It's keeping our taxes low while still delivering state-of-the-art parks and recreation, vibrant cultural amenities, and top-tier quality of life. And then to talk about tax increment financing. CRAs get their funding through tax increment, which uses future growth in tax revenue to fund today's improvements without raising taxes. And project funding, we're looking at TIF bond financing. The debt service on a CRA bond will be paid by tax increment revenue from properties located within the East CRA boundaries only. So this bond does not rely on raising taxes to fund debt service. Basically, this means it will not appear as a new line item on your tax bill, like a general obligation bond would. It's a smart, targeted investment using future growth to fund projects. And then I just want to highlight back in 2021, we did receive a Florida Redevelopment Association award for this project and the concept. FRA awards showcase the most creative, impactful, and transformative efforts in CRAs. Excuse me. And then just to discuss dissemination of information, we do this, it's a legal requirement per the Florida statute, Chapter 163, Part 3, that we disseminate information for public accountability and community engagement. And then we also use this as an economic development tool. And as well, this helps create enthusiasm for this approved plan and gives the opportunities for public to take ownership of this project and to just get some excitement going. So this comparison highlights the difference between a public park and a CRA redevelopment project in terms of their primary objectives and financial outcomes. So as you can see here, the primary purpose for a public park is recreation, where a CRA redevelopment project is economic revitalization. The funding source for a park is general taxpayer funds, where a CRA is TIF, using increases in property values from within the district. The management for a park is city staff, whereas CRA can look to a P3 or nonprofit. Maintenance is taxpayer-supported maintenance for a public park, and a CRA redevelopment project is paid by revenues generated from the project. The revenue potential for a public park is none, for CRA redevelopment projects is high. And then the public benefit for a park is green space, quality of life, wellness, access, whereas the benefit for CRA redevelopment projects is to eliminate blight, economic growth, jobs, increases in property values, generates public revenue, quality of life, et cetera. The financial return on a public park, there's no direct return as it's funded by taxpayers, but a CRA redevelopment project is self-sustaining and designed to generate a return on investment. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about community center and numbers. So transforming the house into a museum or a community center may seem cost effective in the short term, but those models do not generate revenue and require ongoing annual funding for staffing, maintenance, and programming, costs that ultimately fall to taxpayers. While both facilities undeniably play vital roles in our community, one supporting youth sports, and providing essential services for our senior population. I just want to share these examples simply to offer perspective on the ongoing costs required to keep them running effectively. And this just shows you a master timeline. I won't go into all the specifics, but this timeline reflects the hard work that's driven this project since day one. I do want to highlight a few of the key milestones here, beginning in 2018 when the developer purchased the property with the intent to demolish the McNab House. The McNab family then donated it to the Historical Society, but it was beyond the scope of what they could do financially. So the Historical Society approached the city and the CRA with this opportunity, and the CRA took over the project. The McNab family suggested the house be moved to the namesake McNab Park. Everything you see in pink highlighted were CRA or city approvals that we received on this project. So starting in 2019, the board approved the preservation of McNab House and gave staff the direction to relocate the house to McNab Park. In October of 2019, there was an East CRA and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting to unveil the minor site plan, which would have just been the top portion of the park, but their direction was to master plan the entire park, not just that northern half. Then in 2020, design concepts were presented to the board. In 2022, the conceptual master plan was approved by the CRA board. And then in 2023, there was a recommendation of award to Bermelo Ajamel for architectural design services, RFQ that was issued. And then in 2024, the agreement for architectural design services, which authorized staff to begin the site plan process and to ultimately lead to construction documents, which is where we're at now. Throughout this time frame, there was approximately 25 public and community outreach meetings that were held during this point. So project expenditures spent to date, this is all encompassing on this project since the start. And this is as of yesterday. We've spent $2.4 million, and that includes the house move. So that includes MOT plans, FPL fees, site fencing, permitting, engineering fees, and the minor site plan process. The front porch and portico share, repair, design, engineering fees, and construction. Surveying and geotechnical studies, tree maintenance, pest control. You can see all of these things. Architectural design services, selective interior demo, dissemination of information, grant writing, garden operations, maintenance, and program planning, hospitality, and kitchen design. And then just some of the project concerns that have come up over time was what started with the removal of the tennis courts. We've addressed that. Parks and Recreation is adding the relocation of a tennis court to their Parks and Rec master plan. And then the thought of commercialization of a neighborhood park. This is located on a commercial corridor and the structures are minimal. As a matter of fact, 75% of this plan, which you'll see shortly, is public open space. And those commercial uses help to pay for the botanical gardens and the ongoing maintenance so that we can keep it free to the public as we've promised. And then the concern for increased traffic. Neighborhood traffic mitigation techniques will be discussed during the site plan process after we've completed a traffic analysis to fully understand. This just shows some the parking opportunities, highlighting the city and CRA owned properties. And this shows you the total available surface parking spaces on city and CRA lots as a combined 259 spaces. The total parking spaces required by code is 166. So we do have enough spaces per code to park this. And Miami Beach Botanical Gardens has a very similar setup. They don't have dedicated parking, and it works well for them. And with that, I'm going to pass this over to Cassandra, the real property manager of Pompano Beach.
I don't know, I kind of like Sarah's chair. Good afternoon, Cassandra Lemissurier, Real Property Manager for the City of Pompano Beach and its Community Redevelopment Agency. So, the north portion of McNab Park, as it is today, was created as a park in 1924 when the Pinehurst subdivision was platted. You see it outlined in green. And it actually originally was different parcels. So you see the portion that's highlighted in yellow, that was actually donated to the city in 1952 for the creation of the Robert L. McNab Memorial Park. And then the city purchased the southern portion that's outlined and shaded in that reddish tone in 1988. And then in the upper left corner, the northwest, the CRA purchased that property from the Chamber of Commerce in 2021. The city and the CRA do have owner's title insurance policies for all of the portions of the land that are being developed as the McNab House restaurant and botanical gardens. In an abundance of caution, because there were not deeds on the official records recorded with Broward County, we have been in contact with all of the family members and have gotten quitclaim deeds from all family members except for 3 of those. There is only one family member that's indicated any reluctance at being able to execute a quitclaim deed, so they'll be contacted by the city attorney's office to discuss their concerns. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Tommy DiGiorgio from Sterling Hospitality Development Group. He is our hospitality consultant.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Here, I guess we call you the chairman and vice chair and commissioner. It's a pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to be here, not as the EDC chair, but actually as your Sterling hospitality consultant, which is actually looking into all the properties that have anything to do with the food and beverage on the botanical garden. So who are we and why are we your consultant? Very simply, we are probably the most qualified group in the southeastern United States to actually be the consultant for this. It just happens to be in our backyard. You'll see on the screen there a picture of me when I was actually much, much younger. We started this company in 1996. It's 29 years old. My partner and I started with 2 missions. It was really to engage in our industry and engage with our communities. I think you've all seen me up here. We know we engage in our communities. I do it in many different ways on boards. I serve as the chair of the Broward Planning Council and the chair as the Pompano Beach Economic Development Council. I'm also a fellow of the Culinary Institute of America. My partner similarly gives back very much. He does more for the industry. He's a member of the National Restaurant Association. He's the past chair of the Georgia Restaurant Association. He's the chair of the Culinary Institute of America. He sits on the board of Special Olympics, so on and so on. But we will tell you a little bit more about why we are the most qualified in the next couple slides. So if you look up here, you'll see there's what other people are saying about us. Restaurant Business Magazine named Marlowe's Tavern one of our brands, the number 17 emerging brand in the United States of America. Food Management Magazine, this is 2024, ranked us as the 36th most important culinary management company in the country. Nation's Restaurant News, we've had awards, Power 20, but the one I'm most proud of is the one right in the middle. That's our Giving Back to the Community Award. That's really where we highlight everything that we do. And this is only Special Olympics, but I think that award right there, that recognition, we are the 3rd largest contributor to the Special Olympics of Georgia. That's right behind Publix and UPS. So a little bit about the company. With nearly 2,000 employees, Sterling Hospitality operates over 65 locations, serving over 4 million guests every year. Some of the concepts you may recognize: Marlowe's Tavern, Sterling, the Woodall, Guy Harvey Reef Grill. There's others down there. Studio A Cafe is a partnership with NBC Universal. So the list goes on for what our capabilities are in the restaurant operating areas. The next slide talks about much more to contract management. That's exactly what the botanical garden is. That's the way it's envisioned. These are all the companies that we work for and work with, partner with in their venues. So what happens is we are hired as an operator manager to come in, sign a lease, sign an agreement with the owners of these venues. So if you look across there, it's NBC Universal. You look at Aflac's campus, Home Depot, the HD Supply, IHG Hotels. There's groups on there. Inspire Brands is the largest restaurant company in the world, and they actually hire us to run their food service venue. Like I said to start with, what's interesting about this page right here, this is exactly the way we envision the botanical garden. So us as your consultant understands how these contracts work, understands how these leases work, understands what we expect as a vendor coming into one of these establishments. So as I discussed, we also have a consulting arm. We were brought in originally specifically to work on a lease negotiation. CRA attorney and Sarah and others said, you know, we're at a point now with Madroom that we're getting into a lease negotiation status, so we need your help specifically to what I just talked about. But right about as we were being brought on board, Madroom, for reasons outside of this project, basically withdrew their offer. So at that point now we had to go back. We basically had this kitchen designed according to Madroom's needs. We had the event center. We had other things designed according to Madroom's needs. So that's how we got involved with kitchen design review, working with BA's kitchen team and others. We were able to basically reimagine that kitchen so it would work for any vendor like myself who would come in and take over this space. And by doing that, we were able to take about $300,000 or so out of the project for kitchen equipment specifically. What I'll talk about in the next couple pages, though, is really the crux of all this. Is this venue going to be viable? So we looked really into detail on site viability. So why analyzing a restaurant site, when analyzing a restaurant site, we start by evaluating the relative health of the market. One way to do this is to look at the top full-service restaurants in the market and compare against state averages. So you look at site visits reflect real consumer behavior and demand. Comparing to state averages gives context and normalizes performance, and it helps identify strong local demand, consumer spending, and food culture. Percentile ranks show how top restaurants compare to the state key evaluation. The key evaluation here is the average percentile of 3 to 5 restaurants, that's your highest ranked restaurants in an area, is looked at. A count above the 80th percentile indicates depth of the market, demand, and potential for growth. Top restaurants should be in the 80th percentile or higher. Multiple restaurants in the 85th to 95th percentile are considered very strong depth. Avoid at all costs if your top performer is under the 70th percentile. So that is exactly what we did. We looked at the market as a whole. And what we used is Placer AI. For those who are in the real estate, in retail, in restaurants, that is the #1 analytics site. It's a paid site for reviewing and looking at any type of analytic that's important to you. We look specifically percentile rankings. Now, I don't know if you can see your screen close enough, but we have 4 of our top 5 restaurants are above 80%. Our top 3 restaurants are 95% or higher. That is a very, very strong market. What does that show? The information, as discussed, the 4 or 5 restaurants in the CRA, by the way, these are CRA restaurants. They are restaurants that we showed you up there on the screen before when Sarah was talking about what we did on the beach. 3 of those top 4 restaurants are actually right in the CRA development. So that's a very strong market. So using that data, I'm sure Madroom used similar analytics to decide what they were looking at and what they were going to project for financials. So you take that, you look at demographics, you look at psychographics, and you do some real numbers for yourself. So Madroom provided us with these numbers on a stabilized first-year pro forma. They basically thought between the F&B, which is the coffee shop, the food and beverage restaurant, and then the events total, they would have $9.2 million in revenue. Their operating costs were about $7.5 million, and they had an earnings of $1.8 million. That is an extremely viable project. So they did not walk away for viability. This is from their numbers that they provided us. They walked away for some other issues that they had with their company and some of the other establishments they're running. But what we did as Sterling Hospitality, we took a look at it from your perspective. We looked at it in a very conservative perspective. So we did our own analysis, and we said, you know what, conservatively, we know we're going to be able to do $7 million in revenue. We'll have about $5.7 million in cost, and we'll have an earnings about $1.4 million. Again, if you look at that percentage, we're right there at 19.6. Madron was at 19.4% for return. That's a very, very good return. But I want to highlight one thing on this sheet. If you look under rent and CAM, this is the money going to the CRA, almost $500,000 in this conservative projection, because this is based on a percentage rent. I believe that this is, like I said, conservative. I believe we'll see real-world numbers that are better than that. So, in conclusion, the McNab Botanical Garden Restaurant Event Center is an exceptional opportunity for a hospitality operator to step into a truly distinctive and potentially lucrative venture. The surrounding neighborhood is home to several successful restaurants, showing that the area strongly supports well-executed dining concepts. What truly sets this opportunity apart is the location. The McNab Botanical Garden offers unmatched beauty and a serene natural environment. This isn't just a place to eat, it's a destination. The setting creates an ambiance that isn't easily replicated. Other than the new hotels, there's currently a lack of large-scale event venues in the area. Weddings, corporate events, and local organizations are actively searching for spaces that can host large groups. McNab offers a realistic solution, positioning the right operator to become the go-to destination for events of all kinds. Partnering with the Botanical Garden means instant brand prestige and visibility. With built-in foot traffic from garden visitors and unmet demand for event space, an operator can hit the ground running. This is more than a short-term win. It's a foundation for sustainable growth in a high-value market. And with that, I'll turn this over to Kayla Hughes.
Good afternoon. My name is Kaylee Hughes. I work for Biederman Redevelopment Ventures. We are a placemaking consulting firm on this project. So we're focusing on operations and programming plan for the gardens. So for BRV, we really think about how a public space can reinvest in itself. So we think about the operations, the governance, how it's set up, what type of programming and activations can be achieved under these plans, and then think about the operation cost to make sure that that's viable, and then that allows for more, that allows for the operations to be greater, and then that public input and the ownership of the public space grow, which will lead to more brand identity, revenue generation, and ownership, value creation, and then it turns and goes back into the center. So the more popular a place can be, the more that it's ingrained into the community, the more that people will be invested into it, and then the opportunity to grow with more revenue, more programming, more revenue generation going in from the expanded use. So our vision for the gardens is that it's open to the public, self-sufficient, it's focused on the community, focused on safety enhancement, programming. Again, this can be additional programming for the public to use outside of just a typical public park. And then education, of course, is a large focus. So the gardens bring a very specific opportunity, a distinctive setting compared to an indoor venue. You, of course, have the opportunity to have garden weddings, but also even outdoor company outings. There's target partnerships opportunities with the setting. You might be, this example below shows a tourism partnership with the zoo that allowed branding opportunity. And then the afternoon tea with the restaurant is another potential, just an example of a unique event that could happen in this type of setting. educational workshops, and interactive activities. I'm showing 2 other photos. One is a painting session. It's programming that is more appealing because of the setting itself and the garden, and then a scavenger hunt for kids that could be available in the garden store. So, and then of course the educational program opportunities with the project. So horticultural, botanical classes, art classes, sculpture of various types, bird watching, dance, music. These are just some of the high-level programs that could happen because of the garden setting. And with 36 schools and over 36 schools in Pompano Beach and over 300 in the Broward County, there is really a large impact that could happen with partnership for educational classes. So the educational opportunities, of course, you have the history of the McNab family and then the land itself and the history of the site. But then also there's larger opportunities with regional partnerships. You have multiple different museums and these interactive marine parks that could be combined with possibly a STEAM program with the schools, and they have a passport to go through, or again with a tourism bureau of letting tourists and also locals see all the amenities that are in the greater region. So with BRV, we really focus on programming with local partners. So not only does this impact the neighborhood positively, but we also support local small businesses coming in to host the programs that we speak about. So some of the programs that we are imagining and budgeting for, we are thinking about different categories. So arts and crafts, stuff like holiday crafts, pop-ups, flower arrangement, photography classes, water classes, sketching, creative writing classes, special interests, garden tours, plant workshops, picnics, Tai Chi, children programming, on top of the educational classes, movie nights and scavenger hunts, story time, and entertainment. So various different music bands, carolers, live theater, and poetry, just to name a few. And so we've been putting together a list of various local potential partners. None of these we've spoken to yet, but this is just touching a little bit of the impact that it can have in the local economy with local businesses to host these events that we're thinking about. So the goal, of course, as mentioned by Tommy, is that the restaurant will give base rent, a percentage of food and beverage sales, alcohol sales, and the event pavilion rentals. That will go as revenue into the gardens to help sustain the operations. And this is just one portion. We also have other opportunities with the free public programming. This can bring interest in philanthropy and traditional fundraising. We have the classroom facility that's free and open to use, but also could be used for certain rental cases, sponsored programming and events, and then the garden store operations, which could bring revenue. And then just to mention a few other potential revenue strategies and going into more specific detail to those. So you can have the park or the gardens open for the public, but then you also can have possibly touring special exhibits or certain time frames that something might pop up to do a ticketed unique experience. We can have, we're looking at different opportunities if it's more involved programming. So maybe silent disco is something that we charge for the public, but the art class is free to the public. So thinking about that with the high quality of different programs. Of course, you have the garden store, but you can also have vendor pop-ups, like I mentioned before, maybe for Mother's Day or for Valentine's Day, there's more opportunity to get a little bit of rent through the pop-up. And then there are amenity and experiential sponsorships and programming sponsorships. So this isn't really trying to put a large name on a building or on the park itself, but thinking about if the examples shown, they're a little kind of hard to see, but there's a Merry Christmas photo opportunities with the Salvation Army. So thinking about this temporary pop-up that could be sponsored, the sponsorship, programming sponsorship example, it's Meet Me at the Market, and that's sponsored by AARP. Again, very subtle, but focusing on sponsoring one of the programs. And then corporate memberships, it could be something that allows them to come to the gardens after hours. Maybe they get a discount at the restaurant. Maybe they have some volunteer days, something that might incentivize them to give to the gardens with mutual benefit. And then you have buy-a programs. So buy a brick, buy a bench, but this example is a mosaic, so people were able to buy and write their names. So there's ways to be creative to continue the revenue strategies past the restaurant and event rentals. And so we wanted to share this operations comparison. We looked at other gardens in the area. This is to really show that the gardens, even though they have variety in size and operations, they pretty much break even. This, however, is also to show none of them have restaurants, so that's additional revenue that we're thinking about, and the pavilion event site are quite small. So we think that there's a lot more opportunity in McNab, but this is to show, at minimum, we are very confident that it will be at a cost minimum, and then with the extra things that we're talking about to increase that ROI. And then I'm going to pass it to Randy.
Thank you. I'm Randy Hollingworth with Mayor Hamil, and I have Kirk Only here today too. He's our senior landscape architect who has been working on this diligently, developing the construction drawings. I've been working on this for quite a few years now. I've been through many meetings with the CRA, and through the process, it's been an amazing experience, and now I get the opportunity to talk about design, which is something we are always very excited about. I'm going to give a quick historical milestone walkthrough, much like Sarah did, only a little more graphic, beginning obviously with the beginning of moving of the house to the site, which was quite an event back in 2020, and that will serve as the restaurant, and the garage structure will be used as a coffee shop or something of that nature, depending on how the restaurant operations goes. The next major milestone was the first public workshop we had back in December of 2020. I believe it was during COVID. Yes, one of our first COVID meetings, which was very interesting because we were trying to learn, can you have a public meeting in COVID? It was incredibly successful. I think the neighborhood came with skepticism that they were losing a park and getting a garden, and I don't think a lot of people realized what that meant. And for us, it was a huge opportunity. We develop parks all over South Florida, so there's probably not another firm who's more familiar with parks for public agencies. We've done several in Pompano Beach, in fact. But this is a totally unique opportunity. Botanical gardens are amazing if they're done well. And we have looked at them all over the country, all over South Florida. I don't know if you've been to LA, but they have the most amazing Huntington Gardens, which are phenomenal. And they really are a tourist destination in many locations, all the way down to the smaller one in Miami Beach, in the Miami Beach Botanical Gardens. Then in 2021, we developed our first conceptual master plan. This was based on basically taking the site, figuring some of the different components. It has varied since then because of different influences on the project, economics of buildings and things like that. We had a tea house. The operator is that you can't make a tea house work in a garden this small. It's just not going to be supportable. So tea house slowly disappeared, although it wasn't my favorite. I would have preferred to keep it. But you know, we had this conceptual plan developed. We showed the community. I think people were very excited about what this could be. I don't think people realize when they see the site now and what it can turn into. The focus of this plan was the great big ficus tree, which is astronomical and a real focal point, and has continued to be a focal point of the project today in its new formation. We sent the conceptual plan and made a presentation to the Parks and Recreation in February 2022, developing that plan along with further renderings, ideas for the restaurant buildings and the different buildings on the site. And then in 2022, the CRA approved the conceptual master plan that we had that you see here on the plan. And so that's what we use as our basis for developing further development of the plan. And then finally, in the 2024, we began the design development. And that's where we take the very conceptual plan, and we're working with the city, all different agencies and input from the community on developing that plan into something we thought would really work for this community, because it's always been our goal that this is going to be a community center. And whatever that definition is, this was being designed to facilitate a new amenity for the community. Very, very important. There was a lot of talk about, oh, it's all commercial. That is not the goal of this project. The goal of this project is to create a new facility in Pompano Beach it does not have, in a community it has not been served by something like this, and I think is a fantastic opportunity. Every meeting we went to, they kept saying, is it going to be free? Because this is the kind of place where you can walk in on a Sunday morning and read a paper on a bench and hear the birds chirping. I mean, it is going to be unlike anything you've seen in Pompano Beach. This is the site we have here. North is to the left, Atlantic Boulevard along the left. This is the distribution of the uses on the site. As Sarah had said, 75% of the site in green will be left as the botanical gardens. That's a large portion. The blue, dark blue, is the McNab House. That will also include a new kitchen to facilitate the restaurant, and the garage structure, and quite a substantial outdoor dining area. The event pavilion was placed there. That is where you're going to have large events, activities, and I'll show a bit more on some of the elevations of what that has inside the building. The main arrival for the public is in the southwest corner. That's the classroom, restroom, and arrival building. And that's where the average person coming to the gardens who's not going to go have lunch or dinner or go to a special event comes in from the community. We thought the orientation was really good because it sort of centered on the community. This is the master plan that we've developed now. It has really gone through an amazing evolution. I think it's incredibly exciting. We've still maintained the great big ficus tree you can see there at the lower right of the restaurant building, the existing house, the event pavilion, the classroom, and I'm going to take the tree canopy, which is substantial because we want to achieve that, but we also have a lot of trees on site, and we're going to do everything in our power to save as many as we can or move the ones that are in the way of something that we have to put there for the program. So we have a substantial list of trees that we can work with that give that sort of instant feel of a real garden and not just a new project with some new landscaping. This is that plan without the trees. It is an amazing system of walkways that have all been carefully determined how they work. For example, if someone is having an event on the event lawn, which I'll talk about in a minute, the circulation through the garden is still totally accessible for the public. The public can come here whenever the gardens are open and circulate through the garden, even if there's a wedding going on or someone's having a special event or the restaurant is full of people, you can still circulate through the gardens as a resident or as a visitor to the gardens. I'm going to start with a little walking tour, and the lower right corner was where we had the arrivals building. And I'm going to take you through the garden fairly quickly, hoping you can see some of the imagery we have of those facilities as you go through the garden. One of the things that we worked really hard on was trying to come up with a theme. We looked at gardens all over North America. They all have different themes, whether it's Western or native or orchid gardens or, depending on its location. We came up with the idea of exploring the 5 senses. We thought it was a great opportunity. It's based on the McNab family, which was a farming family. We have a restaurant on the site, which is food and odors and smells and all the things that you would want in a garden, we now could explore with the landscape. In a combination of the landscape components, sculptural components, sound, and you'll see what I mean when I say that when we go through the garden. Taking a right coming out, the first garden you come to is a sense of smell. In that garden, we're going to explore everything we can to create that sense for people who are visiting. Hopefully they may even have an app on their phone. They could then look at the botanical names of plant material. If there are certain plants that have aromas, it could be explained on the app, and they can be totally interactive with the experience of walking through the garden. The next one is the sense of sight. Clearly, there's so many things you could do with sight with landscaping and sculpture and really interesting. I think one of the things we really wanted to do was make sure that when someone came here and they came back a month later, they were experiencing another garden. And that may be because the plants are flowering differently, or the odors are different, or the sounds are different, or the sculptures are different. But I've been to the Miami Beach Botanical Gardens, which is very nice. But you've been there once, and you kind of go back a few months later, and it's exactly the same. And the interest kind of goes downhill. So we wanted a garden that evolved, and that as people came back, they got to see something new, almost like an art show that changed constantly. The next garden, sense of sound. Very easy outside with noises, with sculptures, with music, a lot of different opportunities there. We also have the main central garden, which we call the sculpture garden and the history garden. This is where we're going to expand on the history of the family of Pompano Beach. And it's going to have this large pond with sitting areas around it, a koi pond. You'll see an image later on of what that looks like. But it's going to be the center of the garden, surrounded by the five senses. The next sense is taste, right beside the restaurant, most appropriately. When you go to that garden, you'll have the opportunity. We haven't even decided how all this will work, but we know it's going to be really exciting developing the concept because the plant material and sculptures and things like that. As you can see some of the images, there's so many opportunities. The next area is the cafe garden, and this is going to be a cafe, outdoor dining area unlike anything Pompano Beach has seen. This is not just an outdoor with some tables. This is an outdoor garden, part of the botanical gardens. So it's going to be integrated so that when you're there, you know you're in the botanical gardens. It'll be an experience that you won't be able to find in any other restaurant. I think that's the attraction of this building and the site, is that we can attract something that no one else has to compete with. Continuing on, you come to the front of the event pavilion. And here's where we're going to have an event lawn. This is at the base of the gigantic ficus tree with a stage. This is where people can reserve the event pavilion for special events. It has open areas that can be one large area or broken down to smaller areas. The event lawn, we've designed it so you can have a wedding party out there. You could have a high school band playing on the stage with people at nighttime, music in the park at nighttime, just a huge variety of activities. And the event lawn allows us to do that. Everything else in the park will be landscape crazy because this is the space you go to if you want an open space uninterrupted by landscaping. But everything else in the park will be heavily landscaped, exploring all of these botanical elements of the five senses. Past that, you continue on to the final garden, which is the sense of touch. We also have two playgrounds. I forgot to mention the first one, but one of the things we committed to the community that we would have playgrounds in this gardens. And that it was very important that not only is this for adults, but as children go through the gardens, they're going to discover playgrounds they never expected. We're coming up with ideas for the playground structures that are not anything like you've seen in Pompano Beach at a playground. And it'll be very unique and specific to this garden. We've interviewed several playground companies, working with them to try to come up with really unique playground structures that you say only in the McNab Botanical Gardens. I would never see this anywhere else, and that's what's so fantastic about it, and the opportunities here. And here you leave back through the free open gate into the Botanical Gardens, and we have a store there. We have classrooms for the community, or not classrooms, but they're small meeting rooms for the community to come and have meetings, neighborhood associations. There are restrooms there for the entire gardens. That's why we located the largest playground right beside it. We also have a maintenance area there for the people who are maintaining the gardens and on the daily maintenance of the botanical gardens themselves. With that, I'll show you some of the elevations. This is what the McNab House, the garage, will look like from Atlantic Boulevard looking south. All new landscaping, it'll be spectacular. The idea was to make the house look like it was a house on Atlantic Boulevard, not a restaurant, not a commercial building, but designed to be very residential looking. That's why it was placed in that corner of the site. And you can see the cafe in between the garage building on the right of the house and the outdoor cafe which leads into the gardens itself. This is a view looking eastward from 22nd. And you can see on the left is the very modern event pavilion. This is the entrance into the event lawn that leads right to the event pavilion. If someone is having a special event at the event pavilion, they can park and come in this gate just for the event pavilion. So we've designed everything very specifically to accommodate all the different components that we know that the restaurant operator is going to want, and the people using the facility have convenience and ease of use of all the different elements. Once you step through the sort of very transparent fence, you'll be in the open lawn area. And this is where you can see the large ficus tree on the right. In behind, we've actually put a outdoor bar and kitchen area on the kitchen, the new kitchen building. So there's additional outdoor dining and activities on the back of the building because kitchens can be blank walls. So the idea was to activate the kitchen facing the gardens as well. We call it the kitchen bar, but I'm sure that will change. Hopefully someone will sponsor it, actually even better. This is a view looking across the event lawn back at the event pavilion. We're now looking at the south side of the event pavilion. You can see the open rooms, very transparent building. This will have areas to prepare food for catering, brought over from the kitchen, and then prep kitchen, restrooms, two large open spaces that can be combined into one for special events that they can rent. We also show you a view of the event pavilion from the north side. This illustrates the signage we'd have up on Atlantic Boulevard, McNab Botanical Gardens, all very preliminary, but the idea is that we advertise some of this on Atlantic Boulevard because it's very important that we get the people and they know where it is. One of my complaints about the Miami Beach Gardens, Botanical Garden, you can't find it. And half the people in Miami Beach don't even know it's there. So that can work against you, especially if you have an event pavilion and a restaurant. You really want to have it very visible and very accessible to the public. This is a view of the koi pond inside the gardens. You can see very large kois. The idea is, though, that you'd have a very passive area there with sculptures and the gardens surrounding you as you sit there and watch the people using the gardens. Next view is looking down a pathway. Yes, these are very mature trees, we know, but we know that the aim of this is to have something that in 5 to 10 years looks like this amazing gardens. Where did it come from? In the middle of the city. And I think that's very achievable with Florida climate, obviously, and good maintenance. This is a view looking, again, eastward from 22nd. This is the corner building of the entry arrival area where the average public comes in. And when I say average, they're not paying, they're not going to the restaurant, they're not going to the event. So it's the everyday person coming into the gardens. This is the entry they come in. There are two buildings there with a courtyard through the center that you can see here in sort of this isometric view looking down. It has its own front courtyard for gathering people. If a school bus of children come, they can all go in the courtyard and wait for their tour, or you can meet people. The store is right there, so you can shop in the store. There are restrooms right there and things like that. So I think that gives you a really good overview. I can't explain to you how excited we are about this project. Kirk and I just sort of salivate every time we talk about it because it's just such a great opportunity. So we see it that way. We hopefully everyone else does as well. And Sarah?
Thank you. Now that I've caught my breath. So to follow Randy's very exciting stuff, I'm just going to go into the projected schedule. Design development has been complete, as well as development review committee. We're looking at the architectural appearance committee in June, as well as an updated opinion of probable costs around that time as well. The operations plan and maintenance plan that Kayla was discussing, we're looking to get those in June as well. And then site plan review estimated to be finalized in October, with construction drawings May 2026 and bidding in July, September of 2026. And then we've estimated construction at approximately 18 months, but that'll depend on the bids and the things that we receive. And then in closing, while every project comes with a financial cost, I think it's important to also look at the long-term public benefits of that investment. So with this project, it's about the lasting impact this space will have on the people that live, work, and visit this space. It's an investment in a publicly accessible, enduring destination that honors the rich history of Pompano Beach, the McNab family, while focusing on community programming, education, and cultural engagement. And with that, that concludes this presentation. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. That was it's indeed an exciting project. It certainly is. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anything, Ms. McKenna?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I have some statement. I need to try and correct our public record as it relates to some public statements relating to McNab Park and CRA. I'm happy to make them now, or I can make them after audience to be heard, but I would like to be sure that they get into our record.
Okay. Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. I need to address, as I said, some public statements and allegations that have been made about McNab Park and the CRA. And my reason is that I want to be sure that our public record is accurate and based solely on facts and law. So I want to start with the most egregious false allegation. The following public statement was made in writing about the CRA and published in the Sun Sentinel. Rather than serving as a catalyst for community improvement, the CRA now fuels misappropriation, nepotism, and unchecked financial waste. Misappropriation is a crime. It means that a person took CRA funds and converted those funds to their own personal use. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that any member of the CRA staff took CRA money and then used that money for their own use. The expense plan and the CRA budget, all of these documents are approved by the CRA at publicly noticed meetings. Not one single dollar from the CRA trust fund is spent unless it is authorized by the approved CRA budget. Every single expenditure is the subject of an annual audit, and that audit is filed not only with the city, but it is also filed with the state of Florida. The CRA has an outstanding audit record, which is available for any member of the public to see for itself, and in fact, the CRA just received a clean audit for this year, 20 years in a row. False accusations of misappropriation of funds is also a crime, as well as a civil claim by the person accused of misappropriation. So I would suggest that before any further accusations of misappropriation of funds by CRA staff are made, that any accuser has proof that such misappropriation has occurred. Next, I want to talk about nepotism. Nepotism in government prohibits a city official from hiring his or her relative. And our record is clear. There is no evidence whatsoever that Mr. Harrison, our city manager and our CRA executive director, has hired any of his relatives to work for the CRA or the city for that matter. Conflicts of interest in government are governed by Florida law. There is no conflict of interest for a city manager to have as one of his or her duties to also serve as the executive director of the CRA. In fact, it is not uncommon for a local government to use its city manager in that capacity, and that has been the case in Pompano for a number of years. Finally, Commissioner Fessick, I have to address my last comments to you directly. Without bothering to check with me first to find out who my clients are, you made a written statement published in the Sun Sentinel saying, Attorney Claudia McKenna provides legal services to both the CRA and RMA, our primary consultant firm, further eroding accountability. To be perfectly blunt, your statement is a lie. My clients are the city of Pompano Beach, the city of Boca Raton, and the village of Gulf. I have one private client, a lawyer that I hired to represent the city of West Palm Beach in a complicated environmental permitting challenge when I was city attorney there. After I retired from the city, he reached out to me to do some work for him. RMA and its principals are not now nor have they ever been my client. The simple courtesy of asking me before you accused me publicly of violating my oath as a member of the Florida Bar would have been appreciated. And as for McNab Park, your recent social media posts indicate that you believe there is a title issue with McNab Park that would prevent the city and the CRA moving forward with this project. That is not the case. It is misleading and a disservice to our residents for you to suggest such an issue. Parks frequently include amenities such as event venues, restaurants, and botanical gardens. The McNab Park project is lawful in all respects. That concludes my comments.
Very good. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please, no applause in the chambers. Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
Comment?
Oh, yes, yes. Let's open it up for comment on the presentation. Sure.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a lot of thoughts right now. First, Ms. McKenna, I appreciate your need to correct the record, and I guess I don't think that kind of dress down is productive or appropriate for this body and for what we're trying to achieve here. So I would have hoped maybe you'd submit a statement and have a conversation privately if necessary, but that's not how it was chose to be done. So that's your choice. But I think,
If I may, Mayor.
I'm still speaking.
Ms. Vice Mayor has the floor.
Yeah, I think there are other ways to accomplish things that show leadership, and I think we're kind of lacking that right now. Now, with respect to the presentation, can we go back to the beginning where Ms. Mulder was talking about funding a CRA? There was a line in there that said, no burden to the community. So I want to be really clear about this. What funds a CRA? Mm-hmm. Pretty far back. There you go. Further up. I think it's a couple.
Well, just to speed things up, I mean, I think we can agree it's TIF. Tax increment.
Well, I'd like to have the slide up, actually.
Sure.
I'm in no rush today. I hope no one else is.
Just trying to.
There we go.
things
Right there.
along.
Thank you. It says no burden on the community. So what exactly funds a CRA?
TIF.
And what is TIF? Is TIF tax dollars? Are the people of Pompano Beach in the 158 acres of the CRA, are their tax dollars going to the CRA?
Within the East CRA boundaries, correct.
Correct, within the 158 acres. So tax dollars fund a CRA.
Yeah, the property.
I understand, but property values do not fund anything. Taxes are based on property values. So increasing property values fund that. But what in the end, what dollars pay your salary, Mr. Tran?
Tax increment.
Wait, tax increment, just taxpayer dollars.
That is the increment in the property value.
I completely understand that.
Not
but
all taxes. No.
It's not the increment in the property value. It is the tax. It is the taxes paid on the increment in the property value.
Well, Mr. Tran, go ahead and answer the question.
Yes or no? Is it the taxes paid on the incremental property value in the 158 acres?
It is.
So it is tax dollars.
Within that district, yes.
Correct. So there is a burden on the community because if the CRA vanished tomorrow, what would happen to those tax dollars? Where would they go?
If there's other taxing authorities, or you're talking about?
I'm talking about the city, not the county and the hospital district. I'm talking about purely the city.
If it's only city-only TIF, it goes back to the taxing authority, which is the city.
Right. So, Mr. Harrison, we have a budget meeting tomorrow, and if tomorrow you woke up and you had over $4 million that you don't have today, what would happen? Assuming the budget doesn't change, nothing else changed overnight, what would happen when you got that windfall of that over $4 million what would happen tomorrow? What would you be telling us at the budget session?
Hallelujah.
Right. And because what? The tax rate for the people of Pompano Beach would go down, correct?
Yes, ma'am, it could.
Correct.
You still have properties that you have to maintain. So,
I understand.
so you're not getting a full windfall, as you're saying.
I did not ask that question, and maybe there is some sharing, but the answer is, Mr. Harrison would tell us, we just got $4 million back because the CRA vanished, and I can lower the tax rate. So to push this narrative that there is no burden on the community is not complete. And that is my frustration, because you are spending lots of money on social media pushing just this one side of it without explaining what actually happens if a CRA does sunset. I have another question for you. Do you believe it's possible for a CRA to call itself a success and sunset? Do you think that's a possibility?
We all sunset, Commissioner. There is a sunset date.
Understood, and ours was 2031. Do you believe?
I fully believe this CRA has functioned appropriately and successfully.
I do too.
Looked at where we have been and where we are now, absolutely.
I completely agree. So can you give me an example of a successful CRA?
A successful CRA? Mm-hmm. I can probably give you an example of a few not successful CRA.
Wasn't my question. Is the East CRA an example of a successful CRA?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We have done a fabulous job. We have the Ritz, we have the Waldorf, we have a W Hotel. You have attracted all kinds of private development to this area.
Yes, outside of the district. So keep that in mind. The investment in the fishing village came from the east, but the benefits were outside of the district until now, which is the W Hotel.
For sure. But saying that it's been a success, but we need to continue it is the frustration and the struggle I have had. So in the formation documents in 2001 for the East CRA, it was formed because there were findings of slum and blight and to reverse the deteriorating economic conditions. I don't think the East CRA would pass either of those criteria today, do you?
The
deteriorating economic conditions. If anything, the East CRA has made it less affordable for people to live in this city. It has been such a success that affordability has become more difficult in this city.
I think that's statewide, Commissioner.
I agree.
We are the poor here in Florida, comparing to New Yorkers or California. So to say that you can't afford to live in the East, I think that's a misstatement. I don't think anyone can afford it in Florida.
Okay, so do you believe that the East CRA has significant findings of slum and blight and deteriorating economic conditions?
Slum and blight is not just what you see. Slum and blight is also lack of infrastructure, lack of housing, quality housing, all that. Is there more to do on it? Yes, we have parking demands that we need to do. Look, CRA is a redevelopment tool for you as commission. I've always looked at it as, look, the city is like a MasterCard. We're an American Express. Why get rid of your funding tool?
Let's talk about that. So let's talk about debt and what we're actually doing. So at one point I was in a meeting and I looked at all of you and said, isn't there another way to do this? Can we find another way to finance this that doesn't extend the CRA and doesn't issue additional debt? And I'm pretty sure people look back at me and said, you figure it out if you want a different way. So let's talk about that. Here, I'll pass this out. So pass it down. So issuing this $22 million of debt is extremely expensive and extending the CRA. In the next 7 years, we are going to pay almost
Vice Mayor,
$17 million of interest on it.
Vice Mayor, if I could, let's focus on the presentation.
Oh,
You're getting far afield into bonds and things of that nature.
Well, it's part of this, right? So
Target on the presentation. Bring it back home. Thank you.
okay. So as I said, in my meetings on this project, I was told, if you want a different way to do it, then go find a way, Allison. So I have found a way, and I do think it's based on your financial plan, the debt that you take on is extremely expensive, and the cost of continuing the CRA, it's probably about $135 million of overhead, consultants, and debt over your horizon of your 2061. It's not probably, it is. So I would like to talk about a different way. Well, I can do it in my report if you prefer. Okay, so we'll do that in the report. Okay, as we go through the
This would
presentation.
be for tomorrow at our budget workshop.
No, this is for today, but we can do it in the report. When you go through the presentation, can we go to the 2.4 million? Because I am so sick of hearing 2.1 million, 5 million, 2.4 million. I never quote numbers on this because I don't actually know what number to believe. So does this 2.4 million include B&A, the consultants?
Yes.
It does. Where in your list here does it say that? Design Services Associated.
Yes, correct.
And that is the entire, their entire contract to date?
Everything spent on McNab is in this number.
Okay. So it was 2.1 million, I don't know, a couple months ago. So this 2.4 is just because we've continued to spend?
Correct.
Okay. So 2.4 is now the number where we're at to date?
As of yesterday, yes.
As I said, I would never quote a number on it because it seems like I can't justify it or understand it. So, okay. So I actually, to Mr. DeGiorgio's presentation, thought that was quite interesting because I actually don't have any doubts about the success of a restaurant here or this project. I think it's a beautiful project. I have issues with how it's being financed. When I left the house, this morning my daughter opened a Lego set and she was getting frustrated an hour later, and she said, I'm still on page 1. I said, what is this Lego set? And I looked at it, and ironically, it was a botanical garden Lego set. And the babysitter showed up, and as I was leaving the house, she was on page 5. So it had accelerated because you know what she found? The right partner. So how are we going to find the right partner here now? Is there an RFP process? What is the plan?
The plan is to issue an RFP for a restaurant operator.
Okay.
It's not only an event operator, it's an event operator as well, not just restaurant, so.
Okay. And are you getting interest already, unsolicited?
We do have interest, yes.
Okay. Because the way this is described by Mr. DeGiorgio, it is a great opportunity. So I would expect other people to view it as such, given our investment and the shiny object that East Pompano Beach is, and that we would actually have people knocking down our door to be part of this project.
The information is getting out right now, Vice Mayor, but you're absolutely right. I've had several calls already from meetings of very qualified vendor operators in South Florida. I think it's going to be a huge success. I think there are a number of operators in the Tri-County area that can do this project and will bid on this project. I anticipate we are going to see some unsolicited offers in the near future as this gains more traction. Again, a lot of folks in my business don't get involved with things at the very, very early stage like this because some don't happen. You know, we're still going through this process. We have a funding mechanism and everything else. But as this continues to build momentum, you'll see the enthusiasm. The numbers work. There is absolutely no question that they do, and I use conservative numbers. I believe we are going to have a real robust response to our RFPs.
Okay. I have 2 more questions. When will we have construction drawings?
So anticipated May 2026.
Okay. And my last question is, who will be responsible to pay for maintaining the gardens?
That'll come through, as Kayla's slide showed, that'll come through the revenue that's generated from the restaurant as the perform of it. Yes.
So when we saw $500,000 from Mr. DeGiorgio as the rent and CAM to the city, that is what will pay for the gardens?
That is the idea, but yes, like we said on this, we're working on the operations and maintenance plan in June, so we'll have a better idea of those exact numbers. Right now, we're going off of these hypotheticals and the performas that have been put together.
Okay, and if that's not sufficient, it would be city? I mean, it can't be the CRA. We asked the CRA to pay to maintain landscaping last week, and the answer was they're not allowed to. So,
I'm going to have Kayla talk a little bit about more what she discussed.
So we're putting together an operation and maintenance plan. How we come across this is we think about the programming and events and activation that we want to have in the park. Then we work backwards, thinking about what staffing do we need, understanding the gardens, thinking about what maintenance staffing is needed. So we think about the vision of the activation and then what the staffing for the security, for the maintenance, for the operation and administrative staffing. So we have come up with that, and then we're planning to work now with the potential with the restaurant itself and understanding real numbers. So we're trying to think how that needs to be adjusted, and that's what's going to come in June. So we have numbers that we've been thinking about as we're coming with the concept, and then we're adjusting to make it more realistic with the final plans of the garden. So the revenues from the restaurant will be a portion of covering those costs, and then thinking about those other outlets that we mentioned, the garden store, potentials with sponsorships and philanthropy to help cover some of those costs. We don't think that it would be from day one completely self-sufficient, but then within year 3 for sure, we think we'd be gaining and having extra revenue on top.
okay, thank you.
Very good. Ms. McKinney, you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Fournier's comment. I think she's correct. I think there is a better forum that anytime there is a question about a fact relating to the Pompano public records or a question about the legal status, it's better handled in private. Unfortunately, in recent months, all of those questions, rather than coming to me or to Mr. Berman or to staff or to Mr. Harrison, have gone out to the public as if they were truth. And my job as the legal advisor for the CRA and as a special counsel to the city is to make sure that our public knows what the true facts are and what the law is. So I will take a meeting with anyone privately about Pompano's public records and Pompano's law. But if public statements are made that are false, I will use this forum to address them at every turn.
Can I respond quickly?
No, of course.
So I just want to say, you just made the statement that all of the questions have been coming through public forums, and I take offense to that because I'm certain that Mr. Harrison, Ms. Mulder, and Mr. Tran will tell you that I send lots of questions to them about, so to say that everyone is sending all their questions through a public forum and not actually working with staff to get their questions answered is offensive to me.
I appreciate that, but I was speaking about statements. If you come to us first with your questions, then you won't make public statements that are false.
I wrote down the words "all of the questions" as you said them. So that is what you said. I don't have any skin in the game here, honestly. I don't think you're even addressing me because I haven't done anything publicly, but I just think we need to be really a little kinder to each other and a little bit more professional about some of this. And hearing you make that statement feels like an accusation, and hearing you say all of the questions are being addressed publicly is not accurate either, because I address my questions all the time to staff. Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion, commission discussion on the presentation. I got Commissioner Fessick, followed by Commissioner Perkins.
Okay. Would you mind please going to the comparison slide with the Miami Gardens?
This one?
Yes, thank you. So I know that we've gone over the cost for, so what does it cost existing to maintain the McNab House or McNab Park as it exists now?
I don't have that number handy. I'd have to get that information.
Okay, it was in one of the emails that I read, and Mr. McCon said it was approximately $11,000. So I understand we don't have very much there right now, comparatively to a huge botanical garden. So when I'm looking at this, the Miami Beach Botanical Garden with 2.6 acres, and we have 3, so roughly the same size, the garden maintenance alone is $101,000. So that seems to me like a fairly large jump in actual maintenance, plus then, of course, staff on top of that. And they have, if you know, 21 volunteers. The other thing is that it says that they also sell program tickets. Is that actually for admission?
No, that's admissions free
Or admissions free? So they're selling program tickets. What would that
to
entail?
events.
Well, so event rentals and
Correct. Different types of programs. I don't have that list on me, but there's whatever programming they provide.
okay. There was said at one point that whenever the gardens are open. So what is our open and closed policy with the doors here? Or what is being floated? Because it seems like there's a nice fence all the way around it. Is there going to be access to that from that west gate planned all the time? Will people have
Yes.
access to the park? It will be
So-
open and accessible at all times?
Yes, there's an entrance on Randy can talk about it a little bit, but there's several entrances depending on what you're coming for. If you're coming to the restaurant, the Atlantic side, maybe I can show it on.
I can clarify. I saw that there are multiple entrances, but they all say gates, and then somebody came up here and said that whenever the gardens are open. So I just wanted to clarify, will those gates be open, or will they be closed at a certain point in time?
They'll be closed overnight.
Okay. What time,
I
roughly?
think we're still determining hours.
Okay. So the public then will not have, parks are closed generally in our city at like 11 or 10 versus.
Correct. It would
right.
fall in line with that,
Okay.
most likely.
Okay. Just want to go through a couple other things. Roofing. So I know, actually, I'll skip that. I'll start back. We mentioned $2.4 million again as now being our updated cost. And you said that this was all-encompassing. Everything is spent to date.
Correct.
Okay. How much are we encumbered?
We have an additional 1.3 encumbered.
Okay. And maybe this is a finance person, but, okay. And so we have plans to spend, can you go to the slide where the CRA owns all the property, the city and CRA owns property around McNab Park, please? Okay. So I'm just looking here at McNab Gardens and Southeast 2nd Street. So we also now, the parking opportunity there that you're mentioning, that's not owned by the city currently? It's just an opportunity?
Are you talking about the areas in green?
Yes.
No, those are not owned by the CRA.
Okay.
The ones in red are owned by the CRA.
Okay. And we purchased, the city and the CRA purchased the red and the blue, or their city-owned properties?
The park is blue, which is the city.
Right.
And then CRA owns the red.
Okay. Who else, so this is all this stuff is in the CRA, East CRA. When you guys developed the beach, for instance, since you like to use that as an example, how much did we as taxpayers use our TIF, out of TIF funds? How much did we encumber, or how much did we use from a TIF funds versus how much was spent by the developer? And if you don't have to have the rough,
So roughly, we bonded for the street improvement, the dune renourishment and Pompano Beach Boulevard, approximately 13 million, I believe. The city came in and did the garage, and also the GeoBond did the pier, I believe. So CRA was only 13 million.
Okay. So, but
The private sector development, to answer your second question, New Urban Communities came in at about 80 million.
okay, great. So with us as a CRA and the opportunities here to the east and west of the park and the south, in collecting all of this, would it make sense, I mean, again, it looks pretty pictures, got it, but wouldn't it make more sense to potentially put a restaurant or a bunch of parking or multifamily homes or activate the park at the lowest cost possible or a minimal cost, still using grant opportunity, the taxpayers wouldn't have to shoulder the burden and the developers could?
The taxpayers already shoulder the burden. It's a public park. It will always remain a public park. We will never get rid of the public park. It can't remain as it is because it doesn't work as it is.
I think we all know it doesn't work like it is. I think that no matter what, we're all 100% agreed that it needs to be fixed in some way, shape, or form. But you didn't answer my question. Wouldn't it be better for taxpayers if we had developers fund for the activation around the park?
You said apartments and
Well,
residents.
I'm just saying in general, the activation around the park, where the developers would be the ones.
So the idea is that, there's a bit of public funding that helps prime the pump for the area. In real estate development, as you know, the most valuable pieces of property is waterfront first, then parks. We know that we're not, as a CRA, we don't build multi-story, high-dense units. We know that open space and parks are very important as developers come and build. So that's what we want to preserve and to really activate this area and keep it open space.
Right.
There's going to be development coming whether we're here or not. And the object is to let's improve this park now.
Right. Let me be clear because I think you misunderstood my question. I agree that McNab Park should stay a park and will stay a park. That is one thing. The CRA can invest in a park and turn it back over to the city for maintenance, which is likely to happen anyway. The area around the park with this amassing of land sales that we have been purchasing slowly, wouldn't it make more sense if you were a taxpayer to have a developer share the burden or have the burden of that cost, the CRA work with them in a partnership rather than asking the citizens to borrow however many millions of dollars now we're up to against their tax increment finance bonds or whatever you want to call it?
So the land around the park is developable, and not saying that Wells Fargo drive-through that we purchase would ever, remain parking. There's always opportunities to turn it over to private developers. We haven't amassed enough to create that parking structure yet, as you can see on the map. It wouldn't be an efficient parking structure, and it's not enough land yet. But once we do have that, we will look for that partner to build the parking structure and residential.
Okay.
That's the goal.
And who owns the building next to the parking opportunity to the east of McNab Gardens?
There's multiple owners to the east.
Okay, the one that's like, was it 2,300, 20, I can't see. Was that your building? So
Why ask questions?
I'm saying, no, I was actually asking you for clarification. Who owns that building?
Well, obviously, you know the answer to
Well,
that.
I would like to be heard. Because I know he raised his hand, but no, the rest of everybody does not know.
That would be whatever the LLC is under.
Okay, so you
It's an
don't want to answer the
LLC.
question?
It is an LLC.
Yes, it's an LLC, okay. Can you please answer the question for me?
You know the name of the LLC?
Do you know the company?
I don't know the name of the LLC.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
So East Village, 2,200, okay. Do any consultants or anybody involved in this project in any way have any association with East Village 2,200 LLC?
Currently, no.
Currently, no, okay. In the past, they did though, right?
Lease negotiations, yes.
Lease negotiations, okay. We'll come back to that at another time, I think. I'm going to let this go for right now because I think how much have we paid Bermello, Agile and Partners, or how much are we contracted to pay them?
Currently, I believe it's 1.6, 1.7 for the full site plan process, yes.
Okay. And, all right. I'm not just signaling them out because we have quite a few very high ticket contractors or items. So I'm just questioning really at this point. Pretty pictures are one thing. Again, I think there are a lot of things that make things murky, and to address things publicly and be open about them is a better way than operating where people feel like there are questions. So that's when people feel like there are questions, or people have asked questions and they have not gotten the correct answers, and then they have to go back through and find the answers, that you can understand would lead to some confusion with the public. And when I say, I'm not just talking about myself, I'm talking about other publications. I'm talking about the general public not getting full documentation. I'm almost done. This is why there's some confusion. So there's a lot going on here. I think that this thank you for the presentation. Thank you for clearing up some of the things about the fact that was on my list of questions, but thank you for clearing up that we have not yet filed a quiet title action, but I still have some very real concerns, and I'm fairly sure the residents of my district do as well. Thank you.
Very good. I've got Commissioner Perkins, and then I've got Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton. Go ahead, Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, I'm good. He tried and answer my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I know a number of years have passed. We worked on this all through COVID, and I just want to say that I think they've done an incredible job on the design and the thoughtfulness and the uses really have made it appealing, I think, to the masses, to families, and tourism alike, to the residents here in Pompano. So my daughter used to rent right down the street, and when it was a park. And I know we have closed-circuit TV cameras in there. It was constantly monitored. We could not use the park. There were just people who were sleeping. There was drug paraphernalia everywhere. It was unsafe and unsightly, and it was a problem. We had people come up and complain at commission meeting after commission meeting about the park. So, needless to say, I think this is an incredible use and well done, well planned, and I believe that any restaurateur will love to come here to Pompano. And of course, we all know that we have gotten so many accolades from so many entities nationwide, across the country, and it really does make me proud. And so I think what you all have done is great, and I'm really proud of it. So, and in all of the, I do want to say something about CRAs and TIFs, because for the many, many years that I had served way back in the early 2000s on the CRA advisory board, it behooved me to try and understand what it was all about and how the CRAs work. And when we talk about TIF revenue, and I finally kind of put it this way, and this is just for the simplest way that I've been able to figure out. And I believe I'm correct.
Commissioner, I'm just going to ask you to kind of
All right.
focus
I
on
will
the
wrap it up. Just give me this one thing. So, everybody pays taxes. Everybody has their portability. Everybody has their 3% maximum increase per year. We get our homestead exemptions, et cetera. So everybody pays taxes. The difference is the people with living inside the CRA boundaries and any new taxable units or values that come up, those taxes, a portion of those taxes are paid to the CRA, that taxing authority. You still pay the same amount. You don't pay any more and you don't pay any less. And the CRA then takes those funds, which they know they can be guaranteed
Commissioner, I'm going to ask you to
And
focus
then
on the
they can
presentation.
bond. And that is what has made the CRA successful for the multiple times we have bond. And the way we want to do this project is perfectly within the realm because we can afford to pay the bonds with the tax increment financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Further commission discussion on the presentation. I've got Commissioner Smith and I've got Vice Mayor.
I also say kudos to what you've come up with. It's just a fantastic display. I was thinking when I was growing up here, the destination restaurant we had was the Kapok Tree, way out in Davie. And that was our destination restaurant. But we will have a destination restaurant right here in Pompano Beach. Today, when I was walking the trails in Palmyra, I was talking to a man with 2 young kids, and he says, "What is there to do in Pompano?" They were staying at the Wyndham Hotel, and I said, "You can go down to the splash pad at the beach. You can go out on the pier and take a look at what a pompano fish looks like." And he says, "Wow, what does that cost?" I said, "It's free. You can go to the beach, you can go to the splash pad, you can go to the pier. Now they can go to the botanical gardens," something to add to the people that are visiting our beautiful city of Pompano Beach. Good job.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I just want to clarify this exchange that happened because I found it quite disturbing that simple questions just weren't being answered. So I think, Mr. Tran, the answer it was RMA, and that's fine. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. There's no malice, no misintent. I just want to answer the question. And in the report that you've included in our agenda backup for this month, there are $11,500 of expenses to RMA in the East CRA. So I think those are the answers to the questions.
So, as clarification, you asked me who owned the property, right?
I didn't ask anything.
RMA is a company, not the owner of the property.
I think
The
you
owner
knew
of the
the
property
intent of
was
the
an
question.
LLC.
Okay, and then she pursued that differently. I think you knew the intent. There's nothing to hide. It just is what it is. So it felt disingenuous, and I didn't appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good.
Mayor, Kim.
Further commission discussion?
Say something.
No, sir. Further commission discussion? Commissioner Perkins?
Yeah, I just saw Kim walk up. I thought she was going to say
No. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just spoke.
Oh, okay.
You keep cutting me off. Will you stop doing that?
I'm not trying to cut you off.
Okay, please don't do that.
I certainly don't mean to cut you off. I just thought you wanted to speak, that's all.
Just slow down. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting right next to you.
Good. That's great. Further commission discussion on the presentation?
I was saying that Kim walked up.
No. Further commission discussion on the presentation. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what we're on. Further commission discussion?
Right. Yes, Kim
Okay,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
walk up and say something.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Still cut me off again.
I'm giving you the floor. You want to say something, go ahead.
I'm going to say it again, and I want you to calm down. We'll be okay.
Fine.
We'll be okay. We're going to get through this. Kim Briesmeister walked up, and I just assumed she wanted to walk up and say something.
Well,
Whether or not she wanted to say something, I don't know. She might.
Well, Commissioner Perkins, thank you. I appreciate you pointing that out, but this is commission discussion.
Yes.
I recognize the speakers, and I'm recognizing you.
Yes, and I'm not illiterate. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Further commission discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. Great presentation. Very good. That moves us on to audience to be heard. Is there any audience to be heard?
Yes, Mayor. We have 3 speakers.
Very good.
Bear with me, just going through the paperwork here. First speaker, Matthew Walsh, followed by Ann Bosworth, followed by Melissa Hess.
Very good. Just limit your comments to 3 minutes and just name and address for the record, please.
My name is Matthew Walsh. My business is at 2306 East Atlantic Boulevard. Ladies and gentlemen of the CRA board, right now, the Florida House is pushing a bill, HB 991, to end agencies like this one, to shut down CRAs statewide by 2045, to stop new debt, to stop new projects, and to stop this cycle where public money gets funded through private hands with no accountability. And I'd like to believe that bill was written because of something abstract like government inefficiency, but we all know better. I'm here today with a completed state ethics complaint, CE Form 50, naming Kim Bryce Meister the former manager of this agency. I haven't filed it yet, not because I'm unsure, but because I'm not sure it stops with her. So let's go on the record. 4 questions. Please answer them publicly. 1, did you know Ms. Bryce Meister and her business partner were buying up property inside CRA zones while directing public funds into those same areas? 2, did she disclose those purchases in writing by certified mail the way her contract required? 3, did this board approve those acquisitions, review them, or did you just ignore them? And 4, were any federal HUD dollars involved in those improvements? Because if the answer to any of those is no, then we have a problem. And if the answer to all of them is yes, then we have a scandal. You see, I run a gym here in town, 10th Planet Pompano Beach. We teach grappling. But what we're really teaching is how to hold your ground when someone's trying to take it from you. That's why I'm here. And I want to be crystal clear. If this board was misled, I'll help stand with you. But if you knew, if you saw the train coming, and you let it ride anyway, then this complaint doesn't belong in her name, it belongs in yours. And I won't just file it with the Florida Ethics Commission, I'll bring it to the HUD's Office of Inspector General, the Inspector General for Public Corruption, and every auditor who can trace where the money went, who signed off, and who looked away. One of our own recently said, CRA serves consultants, friends, and the swamp. She's right. And you can either be remembered as the people who cleaned it up, or the reason Tallahassee had to do it for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Ann Bosworth, 4015 West Palm Drive. I wrote down a couple of different phrases that were spoken during the presentation, and I agree with everyone here, it's lovely. You can't complain about something that's beautiful. When they built the Sunday House in Delray, in their old town, it was lovely. It served a similar function. It didn't have a botanical garden. It was still lovely. But when we use words like ripple effect, top-tier quality of life, and then I heard a lot of things about imagining. It sounds like there's a lot of things that are being imagined and that we're kind of hoping for, but that aren't actually real. And please don't smile at me like that. Okay, it's demeaning. Don't do it. And don't you do it. You're better than that. I'm looking at the median household income in Pompano Beach, which has always been kind of a family city, a working class city. I've been here since the mid-'80s. I think currently our median household income is something short of $64,000 a year. If you factor in about $2,900 a month in mortgage or $1,700 a month in rent, and you haven't even eaten or paid your other bills or paid for your car, who is going to have the top tier of life? Is it a community center or is it a tourist destination? I'm not against either. I'm actually for both. But it doesn't seem like when we're planning things based on things we hope for, things we imagine, versus what's real here, that the people who live here are really going to get the best end of this. I don't think people are going to be able to afford to go to that restaurant, even if they can find a parking place. I'm just saying. So while you're smirking and while you think you're cute, I'm telling you it's not cute. It's constant, because are the people in Commissioner Perkins' district, are they going to be able to afford to go to that restaurant after they afford to move it? Just saying.
Very good, thank you. Next speaker.
Melissa Hess.
Hi, everyone. Melissa Hess, 551 Southeast 13th Court. I did kind of a little write-up so I wouldn't stumble on my words, but I do just want to point out that there was some really good points made involved about the burden of how this is going to, be put on the residents and everything. And I do want to push back. I don't know if you have time to put on the slide about the other projects that we've been putting into Pompano Beach. The McNair project, which I think I saw, $15 million, which is a great sports complex. I'm not going to use it at all, but still a great idea. The senior center, a $9 million project. All of these things, it seems like I haven't heard about anybody taking into account that it mattered that we're taking the burden on those. I haven't seen anything about how there was any thought into how those were going to self-sustain itself, maybe having some sort of concession stand to put more revenue in. I think I saw, over $300,000 to maintain the sports complex a year. When I think about the sports complex, the dollars spent per the number of residents actually using it is probably a little higher than the dollars spent on the number of residents using this potential botanical garden. So when you want to break down the numbers like that, I do think of when we say this is costing too much, who is it actually costing? Because right now I'm paying for all of these things and not using any of them. I do want to say thank you guys for the presentation. I think it's really great. From somebody who lives right in District 1, I have been personally involved in tracking this McNab project, and I am part of the CRA Advisory Board. I sit on financial seat. I do think that this is something really great. And when I think about, is this something worth a burden for my money to go into, I have to, quote unquote, imagine what's going to be like. When my kids right now, I can go there, go to a beautiful botanical garden, let them experience and see their curiosity, go to a playground, sit there, have some food, but let them play, let them be kids. Get to do this all in one area that I get to enjoy. Fast forward 10 years from now, sitting there having dinner with my family, and my 14-year-old son brings a girl, wants to take him through the botanical gardens. It's safe enough where, it's close enough where I will let him walk away, and I will still get to be there enjoying it. So when I think about all these benefits, do I think, is it worth my burden? The answer is yes. However, I live in an area right now where I'm not part of a CRA borderline. My market value at the house in the whole neighborhood has increased over 35%, which every single one of those increases in the market value have gone directly to the city. When I look in what's in CRA border of what's paying for that, the majority I see are businesses that have benefited off the growth of our city right now. Benefited, so why wouldn't their incremental tax revenue go to giving back something to the city of Pompano Beach? There's a ton of young families that moved here for these areas that want a place like this. Only having the Atlantic Pier is not enough. There are no spaces for us to enjoy time as a family. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes audience to be heard?
That concludes audience to be heard.
Very good, thank you. That takes us up to our regular agenda. Item number 1 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one city resident or business owner to the East CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll go ahead and nominate the incumbent, Lamar Paul Fisher Jr. from District 3. Are there further nominations for this item?
I'd like to nominate Gigi Dubeck.
Very good. Mr. Fessick nominate Gigi Dubeck. Are there further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. When your name is called, please indicate your preference, either Lamar Paul Fisher Jr. or Gigi Dubeck. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Gigi Dubeck.
Commissioner Perkins,
Gigi DeBeck.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton,
Paul Fisher.
Commissioner Smith,
Paul Fisher.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Paul Fisher.
Mayor Hart.
Paul Fisher, thank you. Item 2 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one city resident or business owner to the East CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. Are there any nominations for this item?
I'd like to go ahead and nominate Gigi Dubeck again, please.
You got Gigi Dubeck. I'd like to go ahead and nominate Danielle Flansha from District 3. Nice young lady. Further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations are closed. When your name is called, please indicate your choice, either Gigi Dubeck or Danielle Flancha. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Gigi Dubeck?
Commissioner Perkins,
Gigi DeBeck.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Danielle Flancha.
Commissioner Smith,
Danielle Flancha.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Gigi DeBeck.
Mayor Harden.
Danielle Flancha. Very good. Item 3 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one attorney, legal advisor, or related industry professional to the East CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll go ahead and nominate Rafi Katz, District 1, the incumbent. Are there further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 4 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one general contractor, developer, real estate professional, appraiser, or related industry professional to the East CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll go ahead and
Mayor,
nominate Fred Stacer, District 3 incumbent.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Further nominations for this item?
I'd like to nominate Daniel Lubbers, please.
Daniel Lubbers, District 1. Very good. Any further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. When your name is called, please indicate your choice, either Fred Stacer, District 3, or Daniel Lubbers, District 1. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik,
Daniel Lubbers?
Commissioner Perkins,
Danielle Lubbers.
Commissioner Sigerson-Eaton,
Fred Stacer.
Commissioner Smith,
Fred Stacer.
Vice Mayor Fournier,
Danielle Lubbers.
Mayor Harden.
Fred Stacer. Very good. Item 5 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one architect, landscape architect, planner, design professional, or related industry professional to the East CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll go ahead and nominate Ray Lebumsky, District 3, the incumbent. Are there further nominations for this item? Hearing none, nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Item 6 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one owner-operator of business to the Northwest CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on April 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for discussion. I'll go ahead and nominate Jay Ganem, Lighthouse Point incumbent, for this item. Are there any further? Well, there's no other names that are eligible for this item. So nominations closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to additional audience to be heard. I don't believe there is any.
No, Mayor.
Very good. Takes us up to reports. Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir. I have Sarah here who would like to make an extension of my report.
Very good. Ms. Mulder.
Hello, everyone. I want to just read a statement. This is also in response to Commissioner Fezzick's recent op-ed in the Sun Sentinel and various social media posts. I'm a longtime resident of Pompano Beach, a mother of 2 with another on the way. I have proudly called this city home for over a decade. I've worked in redevelopment for over 10 years and served as project manager for the City of Pompano Beach CRA for the past 3 years. My role is to carry out redevelopment projects that align with the CRA's mission, whether or not there is unanimous agreement on every initiative. To publicly target me in an effort to discredit the work I do and jeopardize my reputation is both inappropriate and deeply disappointing. I was hired based on my experience and qualifications, not through nepotism as you have implied. My performance and commitment speak for themselves through the tangible results I've delivered. These baseless accusations have caused unnecessary stress during my pregnancy and have had real personal consequences. Since your statements, I have been subjected to online harassment and cyberstalking. As a nearly 9 months pregnant resident, I now fear for my safety, all because of misleading public allegations carelessly made by an elected official. I'm committed to serving this city with integrity, and I hope we can return to a standard of professionalism and mutual respect moving forward. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Harrison?
Mayor, I would just like to reiterate to all of you here on this elected body that if you have a concern, a question about anyone on the staff, then please go through me. I'm here to work for you. The staff works for me. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. McKenna, CRA attorney.
Just very briefly, I want to follow up what Commissioner Fournier said, because I think it's important. I think we do need to return to a place where we are collaborative, we are respectful, and we work together for the common goal of the city of Pompano Beach and the CRA. And to that end, I want to reiterate, I am available to each and every one of you to answer any questions you have about the public records of the CRA or the city, or any legal matter that relates to either one. Thank you, Mayor, that's all.
Very good. Thank you. Our next meeting date will be May 20th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Takes us up to CRA Board. Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. So I'd like to switch gears, since I understand this CRA and we've got a lot of downtown meetings, so I will be brief. I was reviewing the contract, the master development agreement, and I was a little bit concerned by some of the things that I saw in that agreement. In light of, and I want this on the record to find out, so who is our city contract administrator?
It's Suzette Sybil.
Okay. Is Ms. Sybil here? I didn't see her. No. So in the contract itself, it mentions that if in the event of somebody, let's say, I believe it was a deadlock decision, is how it was, that there would be a referee as part of the agreement provided, and that referee was named, I don't know by whom, but to both parties by January 31st of each year. Could you, or anybody, tell me who our referee is that was named?
His name is Ron Wire. What, I'm sorry, Ralph. Rob. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. That's it. I'm good for today. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Who is it? Mr. Harrison, is it you that decide on whether or not we have CRA board meetings? Is it your decision if staff doesn't have anything on the agenda, you decide to cancel?
Yes.
Okay. In the future, can you consult or talk to the commissioners to see if they have anything pending in their district regarding a project they would like to talk about before you cancel a meeting? Now, I know you're basing your meetings on staff doesn't have anything on the agenda, but I would like for you to consult with us because we've missed 2 months of meetings, and there was a lot. Of course, I had to say in those 2 months, but I had to wait because staff didn't have anything, and I wanted to say something. So just in the future, I would like for you to just come to us before you make that decision to say we're not going to have a CRA meeting, just to say, do you have any concerns or anything you want to come together for? And I'm sure we wouldn't bring everybody together if we really have nothing to say. But I just think that would be cordial for you to do that. On the other hand, I was confused when you were talking about the commissioner, the contract. I realized you were talking about the new downtown contract. And I wanted to ask the question, who prepared the contract for the master developer?
The contract was negotiated between the parties. The city had outside counsel, Bills and Sumberg, and the developer had Schutz and Bowen, a lawyer out of Tampa. and the contract was negotiated between the parties, and then it was presented to this board for approval.
Yes.
And to the city commission for approval.
I remember we approved it back in June of 2024. Can you send me the names of those attorneys that prepared the contract? I assume you were not included in that, right?
Of course I was, as was Mr. Berman. All of us
You
were.
Okay. Can you send me the name of the other attorneys that were involved in preparing the contract?
Yes.
Everyone that was involved? If you could send that to me,
Absolutely.
I'd appreciate that. And also, I think lastly, what I have is, can you, Ms. McKinney, use this public forum to let everybody know who you work for? Sitting on my left, who do you work for?
I have a contract with the CRA, and I have a contract with the city of Pompano Beach.
Okay, who has the power to hire or fire you?
Well, I guess the commission and the CRA and Mr. Harrison all have that authority.
Yes, and my point is that the commissioner sitting to my left, I think she has a say in whether you work or not. And the way you just came across with, what you read in the newspaper and you felt some kind of way, was just not the right way to do it. Because she did something wrong doesn't mean you have to do it as well. Well, because she did it publicly doesn't mean you have to do it publicly. I mean, we're just going back and forward in this city. This young lady sits over here, she throws a rock, hides her hand. She do all kind of things behind the scenes, and you say one thing against her, and she's upset. And in this game, you have to be tough. We take a lot, and we give a lot. But for some reason, Mr. City Manager, this city is really falling apart. And I wonder who can do something about it. Who can bring this city together and stop all of this nonsense that goes on in our meetings? And behind closed doors, I hear staff saying all kind of things about what's going on with the commission and da-da-da-da-da. Of course, I've never seen it in this condition in my life, so I don't know where it starts. But I know it needs to stop. So you allowing staff to come after the commissioner going after the staff? I mean, when does it stop? When is it somebody's gonna take the road as a leader? Because it's a hard job to be a leader. But somebody has to stop this roller coaster, because if you don't, it's going to crash. And that's where we're headed right now. This is not the city I know and love, what's been taking place here. Now, it was okay when Beverly Perkins was voted against for 10 or 9 years. It was okay. And nobody complained. But now everybody's complaining because things changed. Like they say, nothing stays the same. Things change. I'm still Beverly. I don't know, this back and forward, all I know is one thing. There is nothing anybody in this world can do to me that I will take it to the level of hate. Not me. I can tell you everybody on this dais and in this room that has done things to me, and there is no hate in my heart for them. We've got to make a change. We have too many people in this city that you're giving power to do what they want to do. And that's not good. You're the head man. You're in charge. You got to lead this train. If you don't, it's just falling apart, Mr. City Manager.
Give me an example.
Everybody, wait a minute. There we go again. See what you just said? Give me an example. You're taking it the wrong way, and you're coming at me wrong. I can tell how you're coming. But this is not to degrade you or belittle you. We have people watching our commissioner meetings, CRA meetings all over the world. We look like clowns sitting up here. Where is it going to stop? I go after you, you come after me. You write an article, I'm going to come after you at the commissioner meeting. Oh, it's my time to speak. I'll allow her to speak. Oh, she can come up and attack him. He can attack her. I mean, when does it stop? So, sometime you got to stand up and say, look, we're not going to do that anymore. Let's stop it. It's hard. I know it's hard being a leader. Sometimes I have to make decisions that might hurt this one, but this one might like it. I mean, you have to do that. And stay focused on the agenda of why we are here. Everybody in this room have one thing in common, and that is they love Pompano. That's all we know. Pompano. But all of this get back, and I did this, and I'm going to get this done behind the scenes, and we're going to do this to look good, and we got to play this game, and this one making money, and that one making money. It's a lot. So I'm just hoping and praying one day that you can see and feel what I'm talking about. Because I enjoy, and I think everybody else up here do, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy helping people. There are things about my job I don't like. There are a lot of things about my job I love. So I'm just saying, Mr. City Manager, only you can stop it. That's all. It's not out to attack you personally, but I listen to the people. And that's my job. So I would like for us as a city to do better and stop the one-on-one attacking and all of this. You're right, we can come together and talk if we choose to. But city attacking staff, staff attacking, we know there's a divide. There's always been a divide. Where does it stop? Who's going to stop it? Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton?
Oh, lordy, lordy. All right. Well, I would have to say that to read all of those allegations in the Sun Sentinel newspaper was really an embarrassment. And I think it is apropos that our city staff, our attorneys, push back on misinformation and misrepresentation by a commissioner who has said on numerous occasions, I'm just new to this. I don't really know what I'm doing. And yet, all of a sudden, she has all this information that is incorrect, yet feels that she needs now to completely tear down this city. And another commissioner who I just listened to rant and say nothing for the last 6 minutes, except let's try to come together.
It's my choosing.
Excuse me, I have the floor, Commissioner.
Yes,
I have the floor.
Yes,
Well, if you're talking about me, I'm going to respond.
You may.
I'm not going to sit up here and let you say something about me.
Commissioner
I don't
Perkins.
respond.
Commissioner-
You may continue, but
And
if
you
you're
have
talking
said
about
nothing
me,
for the last 6
Commissioner-
minutes.
If you're
I have
talking
the
about me,
floor.
I'm going
Commissioner
to answer.
Segerson-Eaton, okay, let's take a 10-minute recess. Paging all commissioners.
What do I need to do?
All right, let's call this meeting back to order. Pompano Beach City Commissioner, April 15th, 2025. Commissioner Segerson Eden.
Thank you, Mayor. And as I said, it was really very embarrassing to have a commissioner make accusations that I believe and I know to be unfounded. Incredibly irresponsible, and I thought, it was incredibly embarrassing, and it seems at every turn, all of the success, I'm super proud of Pompano and all the success we've had and all the good that our CRAs have done, and I've hoped still to continue to do. And to, at every turn, say we're not transparent, then criticize us for being transparent, and a number of other things. And I'm not going to take the time now to point out everything, but I think that for sure these accusations are unfounded. A sterling audit, 13 years in a row, the CRA, 20 years in a row, where there is so much oversight. And I think if there was something nefarious, and if, I mean, file with the OIG, file with the Ethics Commission, that's what they're there for. So, but there's nothing, so it was just deeply embarrassing, and I think there's embarrassment all around on some of the things that have been said about the city and the CRA, our commissioners, and our staff. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
All CRAs have a sunset date. And ours is set to sunset the east in, I don't remember the date, 41? 31? 60. And that's just what they do. They organize, they improve cities, the funding that they do brings in raises the property values for all of Pompano Beach. And it is in the open. I have had all my questions answered that I've needed to have answered. And if we're gonna say, let's just start fresh and stop pointing fingers and the bickering and everything, we all have to say we're going to do that. We can't just be a few of us not doing it. So, fellow commissioners, I'm asking you, can we start clean? Can we get back to a friendly level? But Commissioner Perkins, you asked us to do that.
Yes, I did.
But you can't commit that you'll
You're too
do it.
new to understand it.
Well,
go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
You won't hear me be mean, and I would love it if we could all work together, because that's what I'm here for, is to work together for the betterment of Pompano. And I have to end with a quote. Growth equals change. If you want to get better, you have to keep changing and improving. That means stepping out into new areas. And the quote is from John Maxwell. And let's just step out to a new area and have beautiful botanical gardens that we can tell all of our visitors is there to see for free. Thanks.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate, Commissioner Smith, your positivity and your presence on this commission relative to your predecessor especially. You are definitely a calming voice, and I appreciate that. But I do understand Commissioner Perkins' frustration in saying we can't just, it's not always about being friendly and kind. We have a lot of work to do here too. And I know you understand that. You've been on other boards. So for me, hearing you talk about the beach and all the great things to do there, I want to hear you pound your fist about why they have to drive past that warehouse mess next to the casino where there is no live entertainment district to go to the beach, because everything that was promised right there in your district isn't happening. And I know this is a CRA meeting, not a city meeting, but I want to hear that too. You know, I think it's important that we talk about all of it, even if it's ugly, because there are things that are going on here that maybe are not as promised, and that's part of the discussion. And some people have been here longer than others, so they have a history of false promises and have more concerns than maybe some of the newer people on the dais. I agree with Commissioner Perkins about this being an stable, unsustainable position that we are in as a board. As we adjourned, I mean, there's commissioner ranting in the break room that everything was fine until Fournier and Fezzik showed up. And I guess I would say what I would say to my kids basically is you can't choose the circumstances that you're in, but we all can control how we respond and react. And I guess in that vein, consistent with what Commissioner Smith said, we all need to do a little better, even if we're disagreeing or pushing each other, which that is our obligation to do that, but we need to do a little better at how we do that, every one of us. The tide has turned a bit up here, that's clear. So it is not the same commission that we had even when I was elected 2 years ago, and certainly not the same commission that we had 6 years ago. So I do think that there's some frustration from some of us, feeling that the city is working against us and maybe aligning with certain people up here to disparage or undermine others. So, Mr. Harrison, I would like to see you take the lead on ensuring that does not happen, that we do not feel that certain narratives are pushed while others are defamed, because we are all equally your bosses, and we all are elected by the people of this city, and each one of our opinions matters. So the idea that staff is taking sides and all this back and forth is not promoting a culture that's good for anyone. So I guess I put that on you to make it the social media and staff and everyone not feel like they're taking sides against or promoting certain narratives and defaming others. So do you understand what I'm saying? Is that clear? Sure. Okay, thank you. And then I do want to talk about some actual things. What I had earlier or handed out earlier, and I will do a follow-up meeting with CRA staff on this, but I really believe, so when someone looked at me and said, then figure it out, Allison, if you want a different plan, I sat down and I actually really do believe there is another plan. Like, I don't personally like debt, and the idea of just using this entity as a credit card or it's a bonding agency really bothers me, because you're paying so much in, I call it leakage basically, but interest and other things that are unnecessary that you could actually use to invest. And my understanding of it is that we needed to get the timing right. So you wanted the cash now, but when I look at the cash flows and how it's actually being spent over time relative to the cash flows that come into the CRA, if you eliminated the new debt service and maybe ran a little leaner, a little less overhead, a little less consulting, you actually have greater cash flow in the next 3 years than you have projected to spend on the project. So I do actually think there is a way to do this without the bond. There's, like I said, over $17 million of interest in the next 7 years that you won't be paying. And that's just on the new debt. There's the old debt service, which we have to service, and then there's the tax split with the developer for the tax credit. But given the amount of revenue coming into the CRA and what the projected expenses are for the McNab House project, I actually think there's a way to do that without the bond and actually maybe do better. So someone gave me a sticker on my cup, and it says, you can have it all, just not all at once. And I actually kind of think a pay-as-you-go model here might work pretty well, given that the timing of this keeps getting pushed out also. So we're going to sit down and talk and get some answers, but I think that there are other ways. So thank you.
Very good, thank you. Great presentation tonight. I think we've got a great project on the way. At this point in time, I've got a couple of presentations as part of my report. Mr. DeGiorgio, okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Kim Briesmeister. I am a principal with RMA, along with my business partner, Chris Brown. It's not so much a presentation, Mayor, but
please just keep the microphone.
The comments and some of the things that were said tonight are very important to correct and to make sure that there's a public record of it. Originally, I was just going to talk about our properties because they came up at the April 8th meeting, and I wanted to make sure that there was things on the record that I submitted public record. But today, it actually went even a step further, and I do think it's real important, especially when these comments are coming from elected officials. You all are in a position of trust. The public hears you.
Trust.
You write. And in order to do that, and in order to post or write or have something go out, the public really needs to hear whether or not what's being said is accurate or not. So there was a discussion about our properties. I do intend to talk about that. But Commissioner Fessick, it was a question from you to Mr. Tran. Mr. Tran might not know who the LLC is, but they do know that we own the property. But the way it's questioned and the way he's being asked is about an LLC, not our firm. We're in the room. We will gladly talk about our property, and it's what we came up here to talk about in the first place today, but not in this context. So I just want to remind everybody, from 2009 to 2014, we were renters in this city. We were hired to do your consulting for your CRA. We established Atlantic Boulevard as a location for our headquarters. We were an expanding, growing company. And then we wanted to buy a piece of property because we wanted to be in control of our growth. In order to, as a growing consulting firm, control your growth, it's very difficult to do that as a tenant. We sought legal advice, however, from Weiss Serota because we wanted to be 100% certain that there was no conflict of interest. We not only sought that legal advice, it was confirmed that there was no conflict. They confirmed that we could not only purchase the buildings, but they specifically said...
Are you all allowing her to come up here and justify what she did in this city?
Commissioner Perkins, thank you. This is my report time. Thank you.
Okay,
I'd like to set
have
the
your
record
report, but
straight.
I'm going to stop her every time I think she's saying something that's not true.
Here's a legal opinion from 2014 from
Got it
a
if you
law
want.
firm, from a law firm, suggesting and writing in 3 pages that we actually have full legal rights to buy a piece of property. There was also disclosure information in here. So in May of 2015, we bought the building at 2300 East Atlantic Boulevard, and that is where we moved after we renovated the building. That's where we moved our headquarters. We've been in that building for 10 years, providing consulting services to this city and countless others. We have had over hundreds of consulting jobs. In June, the very next month, we submitted this letter. I'll submit it to Kervin as a public record. It was the required disclosure. That disclosure said that we owned the property when we bought it, and to ensure the absence of conflict of interest, we had obtained a legal opinion, we attached it, and we sent it to the city. It is real important for the public record that we bought this property in 2015. The implication today, when the agenda item was McNab Park, was that we have acquired properties because the McNab Botanical Garden is located where it is today. We bought the property in 2015, and at that time, McNab House was currently owned by a private family. 3 years later, the McNab family sold, and 2 years after that,
Moved the house. You moved the house.
Commissioner
We did not
Perkins?
move the house.
Please.
Yes.
For the public record, we did not. Ms. Mulder testified and stated that the Historical Society wanted to preserve the house. The house was moved at their behest.
There you go.
And we were consulting at the time. But the accusations of impropriety continue, even though we have a legal opinion, even though we did the necessary disclosures, and even though we had done everything to verify that this property was purchased 5 years before the McNab House moved. But there is still this ongoing accusation, underlying assumption, and statements being made and questions to staff about whether or not we own the property. You know we own the property. We are very proud of the fact we own the property. We talk about our property because we too, I was a resident of Pompano Beach, but we are property owners. And when you have a corporation decide to locate their business in your city, especially if they're a consultant for you, you would think that that would be something that is very, very public, and it is, but it is personified as if it's not. That impacts us, and it is not appropriate to do. Now, in September 19th, this letter went to you, commissioners. All of you got it, except Commissioner Smith. You were not here at the time. In September of 2023, so 18 months ago, there was a CRA board meeting, and 3 topics were brought up by Commissioner Fournier. RMA's services, RMA's office building next to McNab Park, and RMA's contribution to elected officials. This is the memo that I wrote to all of you addressing those 3 topics. RMA had contributed to Commissioner Fournier's opponent. So right away, when those 3 topics were brought up, we responded, we sent this email, we attached the legal opinion, we attached the disclosure letter, And then we made it very clear that we had legal opinion, disclosure, and everything necessary to verify that we could in fact own the property. We had been there for years, and there was absolutely no reason that needed to be brought up. And yet here we are, again, and it's being brought up. At this point, it is getting personal. At this point, it's also a coincidence. It is a coincidence, a big coincidence, that as a landlord, we have tenants. Some of our tenants have been with us for years and years. Some of them are relatively new. One of our tenants, who was here earlier, has been a tenant of ours for 2 years. Our tenant at no time has ever talked to us about our firm. That tenant has never said anything to us about our company, about the buildings, about anything. And yet on April 8th, he came to the commission meeting, which I saw the tape afterwards, and he was making a statement how we quietly bought up properties, and he asked if we disclosed if we had done that, and coincidentally, he brought those same things up today. And he wanted to pose those questions to you and imply that for all practical purposes, something nefarious was going on. Now, I don't think you all might have made the connection that he was a tenant, but clearly, you all know that that's my property, or Chris Brown and my property. So it's a real coincidence then, when he was there, that Commissioner Fournier, you asked him, you said, are you Mr. Walsh, correct? And he came back as if verifying that that was his name, but you know who my tenant is, because you were in my building, and you were in his dojo. And so to kind of imply that his name might not have been known to you, he posted on Instagram a picture of you in his building, and it is one thing to disagree with us as consultants, but it is a very big coincidence that my tenant, after years and years of never having an issue, suddenly has the same issue of us owning a property, when that never came up before. So it's one thing to disagree with us as consultants. It's another thing if you don't believe we provide approvals of things or conditions of suggestions of redevelopment that you agree with. But it is quite another thing to what appears to be a very targeted approach to address us, our property ownership. Clearly you have a relationship with my tenant. Clearly you've been in our building. Clearly you know we own the building. Commissioner Fessick, you know we own the building because we talked about it. Even though I had asked to meet with you, you canceled all the meetings. So when you know that we own the building and you continue to go along those trajectories of implying impropriety and implying something's wrong, I'm sorry, the record does need to be set straight, because the public listens to you as elected officials. The public trusts, usually, their elected officials. And to me, as a redevelopment professional, for Chris Brown and I have been in this business for decades, to have to verify after you all have received these legal documents years ago, to continue to do that, we find it very inappropriate. So we will not allow elected officials to malign our character or to take a position of trust and turn it into a political agenda of their own if that's it. And we respectfully request that you do not do that. Thank you.
Very good.
Mayor, I need to respond.
Now she needs to tell why she
You called me
resigned
out
as
personally,
executive
and I'd like to
director of
respond to that.
CRA. You forgot, you left that part out.
I'm sorry, folks. This is my report. I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
How,